Griffith, owner, founder of Debt Does Deals, also the founder of Vetted VA for anybody who follows that brand and initiative as well. Chris and I hit it off the very first time that we met. There it is. There we go, repping both brands. The first time Chris and I met, he made a bet with Anthony Casa that I couldn't do something by a certain date. And if I couldn't get it done, he got to do something as a joke to Anthony. And I got it done. I did. I was like, I'd never been more threatened in my life than to get that project done so that you did not have the ability to. Well, I can't even remember what you were going to do with Anthony, but I will never forget that first conversation that we had. So Chris and I have hit it off ever since then. He's worked on some amazing initiatives over the last year or so. Look, Anthony's already popping in on the comments. Are you growing that? What are you growing behind you? We'll get to that in a minute. We will get to
it's not what is bad. Being grown. Chill out.
Yeah, well.
Hey, here's the question I have for you there, King Casa. Are you growing what you're supposed to? Because you know, as well as I do, in September, there's a reckoning coming because the bet you just referenced is actually in play right now. And the wager is that Casa will be bearded by Fuse, essentially, because the 6-month window that he himself requested was provided perfectly, and it puts him right there before Fuse. So it'll be an interesting summer, to say the least.
That is for sure. I think everybody could agree on that. Let's go ahead and jump right in because I know everyone's got crazy schedules right now. Anthony said the beard is coming. I can't wait. I really can't. I hope it does. So Chris, I think of all the things that you're known for, everybody is super, super aware that you have figured out how to make Facebook work for you. I think so many people are intimidated by Facebook and they put so much time and effort into how to master it, but they're doing all the work. They're not letting Facebook actually do the work for them. And you've really figured out a way to fine tune your entire process to make sure that Facebook is constantly working on your behalf, no matter what initiative we're talking about, whether it's Debt Does Deals in your brokerage or if it's your initiative with Vetted VA that you've got going. So can you give us a little bit of insight into organic leads and how you even make that work on Facebook? What's your approach and how do you make sure Facebook continues to work for you when you're not online?
The very first thing I'll tell everybody is if you want to try to use Facebook to get leads, the very first thing you need to do is take that statement and throw it as far away from you as you can. Shoot it 5 times in the head with a 9mm, go get the shotty, put it down with a couple times with that, and then bury it with a backhoe about 12 feet down so it never comes back up into here, or here. That is what you don't want. And here's why. I don't use Facebook to create leads. I don't. Facebook ended up being a mechanism that creates a tremendous amount of leads, so much so that it's problematic for me in liability in the sense that people are holding me and they're trusting me beholden to accomplishing something, even in senses where I'm not licensed or able to, right? But the only reason that happened is because years prior, I started doing something else. I was in the military. I was deployed. I was gone a lot. I had to give to all of my friends and family back home, and I'm an unusual cat with relationships. I've never met one I wanted to throw away. Even the ones where I've got problems, I give them 1 or 2 things out of the 1,000 they don't like that they do like. And for those, they wait to see more of those things in me, right? And so that's what it became about for me. It became about making Facebook a literal diary into my entire life and to put out enough evidence out there so that my children could go back and see who I was at different time periods, how I grew, what things occurred, how they impacted me, and how I reasoned around and through them, and how I re-reasoned in hindsight later, right? So it gives them an incredible tool into who their father was, into how he was, into why he was, because I give them everything, right? Give them enough evidence to decide for themselves, and you don't have to sell them anything, guys. Give them enough evidence to decide for themselves, and you can't sell them anything. And any of you that have received a referral from me, you know what I'm talking about, because it's hard to refer someone's trust away once you've built it and once they feel like they know who I am. And so to everyone out there that's interested in converting Facebook for leads, I would say that right off the bat, if that's the thing you're focusing on, you're probably going to miss your target. In the Marine Corps, when you're shooting at 500 yards on iron sights on the prone laid down position, the thing you focus on, right? You have your rear sight aperture, your front sight post, and then you have the target. The thing you're focused on is actually your front sight aperture. your front site post, right? It's not the target. If you watch the target, your rounds are going to walk around and miss. You stare at your focal point to make the correct shot, which is the front site post. And so most people are looking at the target being Facebook leads, and they're walking shots all over in the berm and scaring the hell out of everybody because they don't understand what they need to focus on to make it work for them. So guys, if you want Facebook to work for you, then quit focusing on the target and start focusing on the things that are impactful. And that is sharing your personhood, sharing who you are, all of the colors, all of the context. When I came out and really knew that I would take on this public life instead of just the private one that I'd led with my friends, it became difficult because I knew that people would try to do what everyone in my life always have. They try to nail me down, and it's difficult for them. And I laugh while they try to do it, but I knew they would. So what I said was, okay, how do I give them caricature Christopher that's right and accurate and still me and not false and not misleading? There's a reason why I'm in a hoodie, a beard, and unkempt half the time. My appearance, when you hear me speak, I think kind of tells you that I might not be so concerned with the production value and your consideration to those things as much as what I'm saying and you countering them substantively. And I think that matters to people, especially with social media and peer-to-peer engagement. Long before Facebook, people have wanted to communicate like this. They wanted peer-to-peer relationships, and they share things verbally and stories, advice, values, and even diseases, apparently. But Facebook gives you a really great opportunity to give a lot of different context and visibility into who you are, right? So I asked the question yesterday. I don't remember exactly. I do it like when I have a really important question that I want to dissect and break down for my personal selfish gain. I always do the official census thing, right? And then I've had to learn, I have to go through and do follow-up questions really slowly. There's a lot of commenting
so you don't get
because
kicked out.
Facebook will literally block me and ban me from commenting with people that are engaging me, which is hilarious. But I asked the question, do you know someone personally that has tested positive for COVID, right? And I have over 1,000 responses in a few different forums right now. I've personally now engaged with 15 plus different people. 3 actually I did know that I didn't think I did, that have all tested positive and been through it. And I learned an incredible amount of information because of that reach. It has nothing to do with anything mortgage. It doesn't. It's my literal curiosity. My wife's mama bear freaking out about everything, and I love it, and she's protective, and I'm me, curiosity, right? And so that's my way to gauge a lot of things. And what you can see in that is if something's relevant, it's impactful, it's done out of curiosity and not posture or pushing an agenda, people receive it differently, and you can see that. And too many people are trying to push agendas and drive things as opposed to just being themselves. So, long-winded answer. I think
no, but it's 100% true, right? There's a few different approaches, and obviously your approach to Facebook has been 100% organic the entire time. There is some value in running Facebook ads. There's some value in getting your name out there in different ways. Those are things that can work for you as well. But I think what you've really done and drilled in on is being a master at this side. And you dove in feet first, right? On, I'm just going to be myself. I'm going to be me. I'm going to build my audience that way and build my sphere of influence by just communicating with people regularly. I think one of the things that you do really well that a lot of people don't do, myself included, I have a bad habit of not doing this. You do actually follow up and comment or ask a follow-up question every single time people engage with you. You go through and you like people's comments when they're posting back on your stuff. You're not just letting them bring the audience to you. You're then engaging with the audience while they're already thinking about you and what you just did, which just grows your sphere even broader beyond the people that you know. It now gets to the people who know who know other people, right? Where you're 2 or 3 degrees of separation, and those people are interacting with you because you're asking questions and continuing to engage.
And there are all sorts of measurables around the algorithm that determine how much the individual Facebook user enjoys this post. Facebook needs me, Facebook needs you to be incredibly, uniquely relevant and engaging. And they will reward you when you are. I personally, and my personal nature, it's hard for people. Good God, I'm sorry, guys. My personal nature is if there is a path through the woods and there's an instructor that says, hey guys, go down this path. There's going to be stuff along the way. Supplies will be a little bit scarce, but y'all go down this path. It's going to take you 5 days to get to the other side. Try to stick together, work together, and go, right? 999 people are going to take off going down that path really quickly towards the supplies, the scarcity mindset. That's human nature, and I know it regardless of the intent, and I know what huddling that mass looks as well. But I'm the type that, like, as everyone bolts off and takes off, I grab like two guys by the nape and I'm like, wait. And then we go over here and we look for another trail intentionally, because I know that if the terrain is such that there'll be supplies and it's prepped and organized, at least on this trail, that I can make do off trail and doing things differently. And so going about things differently matters. People like difference as much as the laws of attraction do work, which is why I give so many people different hats. Like, there are plenty of people that love this Christopher Griffith that hate this one, or maybe don't like this one, and then vice versa. And so when you hear people talk about marketing and avatars and knowing your audience, a lot of people end up thinking that the avatar is the consumer, which is laughable. The avatar is me. So I think back to the movie Avatar. What body do I have to be in, mind, heart, and soul, in order to speak to this audience from this persona properly? And so I literally have physical reminders of who's speaking today and how I want to communicate, because I can go to a place where I can live in that focal point and communicate to that target audience in a way that if 1,000 people are in a room and there's only 7 target audience people, I'll tell a joke, and if all 7 of them laugh and everyone else does it, perfect. I nailed it. And so
Exactly.
some of my posts, people are like, yeah, that one wasn't for you. I don't know what else to tell you. Like, come on, move, scroll past, swipe, whatever.
Right.
Right.
But I think that's a big part of it as well, right? You have done a really, really thorough job of defining or knowing who it is that you're trying to reach. And I think what intimidates people a lot of the time on being truly themselves on Facebook is, well, Chris got 1,000 comments on his post and I only got 10 on mine. Well, if the 1,000 people that commented on Chris result in 0 activity long term, and the 10 people who commented on yours result in 5, you won, right? Like, it's not a number. It's not purely about how many people commented, how many people liked. It's about how many people saw it and now know who you are and are willing to come back again and continue to see the information that you put out there.
When a counterintelligence person, or when a person who's understands the art of communication and they want to gain some piece of information from someone, don't think harmful or bad information. Like, let's say I want to figure out what your birthday is, but I don't want you to understand that this next 10-minute conversation is going to be so that I understand what your birthday is. I take you through funneling and conversation, right? Broad, narrow, and different things that are engaging for you, relevant, so that at the end of it, you're not for sure what happened. You enjoyed it. It was a good conversation. And that's that. And so I do the same thing with my posts. Some of my things, out of those 1,000 comments, there's not one that has a business purpose to me. Guys, like, come on. Why on earth would I try to use a COVID discussion where I genuinely want to learn about a virus and how it's hurt people and killed certain people for business purposes? I don't. That's not what it's about. And so that post, while its engagement's through the roof, there's no business purpose to it. And that's why its engagement's through the roof, because
Right.
the reality is there's not 1,000 people in a business purpose way that would comment and be that personally and emotionally engaged in something new, right? Without really crazy drivers or really long time, distance, and direction to build that profile and that persona that they're attached to. And that's what it's about, right? And it's not about being untrue, and it's not about making things up. But I do understand, and I know that when I get up and I'm speaking with this hat on and I'm talking to all of the professionals there, I am not motivated the same way that this guy is, or the same way that this guy is, because this guy and this guy can, and on earth in any place, do what this guy has to accomplish. And if I let that jerk or this one show up, I know him, they'll screw it up. And so I borrow them. And I know it sounds maybe borderline schizophrenic. I don't really care what people think. I don't really care, because that's how I've built it and that's how I internalize it. And I'm the same person. And you all know, because ultimately everyone tells me the same thing, your brand is you. You're right, but it has a specific focus, a specific purpose, and it does
Yep.
things differently for a reason. It's difficult. It's not something I would recommend for everyone, but to start, simply show up. Show up as yourself, man. Show up as yourself, guys, on your profiles. Engage with people in what interests you, whether it's reptiles, right? Or hoodies or beards, whatever it is that makes you you. Don't be you. Don't be afraid to be you. Like, come on. That's the one thing that'll get my daughters in trouble more than anything is when I see fear grip them and prevent them from being the young ladies they're supposed to be. That's when I get on to them, right? And so that's what I would encourage everybody to do. Don't be fearful of what people might say while they're starting to learn who you are. They're always going to want to nail you down too early. Keep them intrigued. Half of y'all probably watch me still because there's something about me you kind of feel like you could like, even though mostly you don't. I tell everybody, like, you think you don't like me now? Wait, it gets worse because in the future, you're going to decide you do like me, and that's when it's really going to suck for you, right? Because I will keep coming back and finding people. And that's what you have to use your social for. Find people where they are, find them in a relevant way, in an honest way, in a present way, and engage them humbly, honestly, attentively, and pursue them in their need, right? Now's a perfect time to do it. You can't take donuts to realtors' offices, right?
Right.
And if you're out there still dialing for dollars every Monday for agents, I mean, I guess that's one thing to do. I did it. I've made a business off of it really well, but it's nothing compared to the power of organics. I have paid for marketing. I went through and I'm still a part of Legion of Loan Officers, right? I wanted to understand the techniques, tactics, and procedures they use to market, funnel, channel, organize, and flow through to create value a lead. But I didn't like what they were doing with it or the what parts and all of these other things. I wanted to change the content that drove the operation. And so I set out to build the content first to give enough people time, distance, and direction so the algorithm and everybody else were okay enough with this that they'd work with it on a mortgage and professionally, right? And then when it collapses and crunches and everybody stops paying to market for consumers, by the way, which is really close to now, then I'll use those paid tactics to drive organic messages and ones that might not necessarily have anything to do with more organic lead production, but simply engaging people in a relevant way. And that's the way that you ultimately can use paid tactics to empower organics. Personally, it's my honest belief that, if not now, here soon, organic marketing has the opportunity to defeat paid marketing. And I want to try to prove it by walking it out. So
we will definitely keep our eye on that. I'm with you. I think the organic reach and the opportunity that people have purely by being themselves and sharing their story and asking people honestly. I loved what you said, humbly and honestly engaging with people. The reach that has, I don't think people realize how impactful it can be. I mean, just think about if somebody stops and asks you and truly says, how is your day going? Really, how's your day going? And it makes you feel like you're the only thing that matters to that person at that time. If you're using social media, Facebook in particular, to do the same thing and engage with people individually on a one-on-one level, by taking the time to go through and ask follow-up questions, comment on their social media, right? When they're posting pictures of their family, post comments on there. That's the way that you start to build this relationship that lives. It really does live only on social media. There's a good chance most of the people
but it's real.
are never going to meet, but it's real, right? It's
real.
very, very real.
I met you. I met Casa. I met Clayton Collins. I met Kevin Perino. I met Eddie Perez. I met so many of the people that I know now and that are instrumental for like all three of these dudes, right? In so many ways that's not fair to them, honestly. But I met them all on Facebook.
It's true.
Right?
First conversation. Yeah.
Yeah. And mine and Anthony's first conversations, if there can be like a worst start to a relationship ever, I doubt it. Asking like the first 10 minutes, like it was.
We will have to revisit that story. So that is a whole nother Facebook Live for how that whole relationship got started.
Well, let me hit, you're right, and I will stay away from it. I want to hit one thing real quick, certainly before we go, and I want to go fairly quickly through it. But this guy started creating a friendship with veterans 15 years ago. This guy started this thing. I couldn't work with all of the veterans that this guy knew through this thing. So this thing was started because when I referred people to other people, I had to hold them accountable so that this guy wasn't an a-hole, right? And so if you're curious about whether or not I got the stick here, ask some of the loan officers in vetted VA in our group that have been vetted manually over the last 2.5 years if it works, because I'm telling you it does. And I'm building it for all of us independent brokers because we are best suited, capable, and able with the right accountability and procedures in place to serve veterans better than anybody else out there when it comes to all of the things most important to them. And I'm literally showing an entire industry of peers that are better than me as loan officers, better than me as brokers, a different way to engage a consumer in a manner that works better than anything they have before, and they can echo that. So if it's all right with you after all this over, I do have a link. I know there's a lot of people interested in vetted VA. A lot of them are going to go request to join the group right now. Don't do that because we've got a block on all origination ads, and we have for about 8 weeks now. We're in the final stages of rolling out our vetting process. We have our first round of vetted VA originators already identified through the last several years of vetting that are going to be going through first. And then we will have stick 2 and stick 3 later on this summer and fall going through as well. So what we're doing for stick 2 and 3 right now, for those that want to be engaged, those that are able to be and are okay with being upheld and held up to a higher standard, those that are all right with following a new methodology, like you're going to need to be referred by an originator that's in there now. But we do have now a sign-up sheet for those that are interested. I can share with you if you want to put on here after.
Absolutely, we will. And for those of you that don't know, Vetted VA is an initiative that Chris had started building up, to your point, a couple of years ago. It really took off, I feel like, in the last 12 months is when we've seen some massive growth and traction. Last time I looked, I think north of 5,000 consumers, right? Vets or family of veterans.
Yeah, 5,700 people right now. Of those, I would say there are well over 5,400 that are strictly veteran consumers. 300 to 400 of those, maybe somewhere in there, are professionals, either originators I've vetted and some real estate agents as well, because we want to influence and teach them. But even out of those, the percentage of veterans in there of the 5,700 people is probably close to 5,600. So it's a predominantly veteran audience. And I will tell everybody right now on Facebook, there is not another group that is better for VA information for the consumer or the originator out there. That's
Absolutely.
what we feel.
And it's the feedback that comes through that group that just echoes that sentiment is consistent. I mean, I see it in there all the time. I'm a fly on the wall that can see some of the stuff that's happening. I've got family, my entire family has been in the military at some point, right, across the board. So just watching some of the conversations, and you're 100% right. It's an audience that needs attention, that needs education, that's being over advertised to in a paid way, and being able to combat that with a purely organic strategy, which is exactly what you're doing, is really allowing you to reach beyond just your core and the people that you knew, and start to pull in vets from other groups that have no idea who you are or what a mortgage broker is, that are wanting to join this group because they know that the information is real and they're not going to be sold, right? They're coming in to get information and to be educated. And that concept is new for a lot of them. Audiences in general, but specifically a veteran audience, is used to just constantly being sold to all the time. And it doesn't work.
And the false perception everyone has is that we're a leads group. We're not. We're an informational source. We're an intelligence source for the veteran consumer that gives them real live humans that can answer perfectly to the VA's discretion what is incapable with a VA home mortgage. And everything from every comment, there's no solicitation and no cussing allowed. It's all done so that nearly every single post and every single comment is a piece of value being added, whether it's from a professional or from a consumer perspective. And then you get this subchapter under this topic that's just this amazing book of value for these people. And that's why it's growing. So I tell everybody, if you want to come in and you think you're coming in to get leads, you're going to get hit with a flip-flop right when you come through the door.
Well, we're definitely going to stay in touch. Chris and I Chris is really doing all of the work. Every once in a while, I get a peek at some of the stuff that's being built for Vetted VA, and we're working on trying to figure out how we tie all of that together with AIME, because obviously it's an initiative that we're super passionate about as well. So we will keep everybody very informed. Chris, as your new website gets ready to go live, all the stuff that you and I have chatted about recently, we'll definitely make sure everyone in Brokerage or Better is up to speed and has a chance to get some insight into all of that when it's ready to launch. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. It's always so good to see you. I'm so glad you did not pull the snake out of the cage like you were going to before we started. So thank you for not doing that.
So we got to show everybody, Con. Your fear of snakes it's funny.
It's
He's
just,
literally, my 5-year-old daughter will hold this guy around the neck.
you know, and that is so good for her. There he is, y'all. Chris wanted to do this interview with the snake around his neck. I could not.
Why not? Like, what kid my age didn't grow up watching Jake the Snake, right, on wrestling on Monday nights, thinking, man, when I grow up, I want to have a big snake that if I go to the grocery store, I just take with me. Like, you know, I don't know, whatever. But that's what I'm talking about. Be you. Don't let those types of, like, I don't do these things because I think that you're going to watch and you're like them. I do these things.
Right.
I ask my wife. I do these things because I have a problem. I'm a grown boy now with enough money to buy a pet. And so we've got a few.
Well, we will, like I said, everybody, we'll keep you super informed on everything going on with Vetted VA. Chris, feel free to drop that link for anybody that's interested in the comments of this video. We'll also help gather some information that we can push out directly from AIME to make sure everybody's informed as new stuff gets ready to launch for Vetted VA. This is, as usual, always a good time chatting with you.
I have a ball. This summer, we have to start a regular series on our personal timelines that you're close, where we call it the Texas two-step.
I love it.
We can do it with like class and SaaS. You'll obviously be the class part, but we can literally tear apart industry conversations in a way that only our personal profiles can support. Like, that would be a ball.
Done.
Yeah.
I'm in.
Thanks for having me on, Katie. It's a blast as always. Seriously.
All right, everybody, Gary Malice is on here shortly in a couple of hours. So everybody make sure you tune in. Chief Strategy Officer from PRMG. That's going to be a great one. If you have any questions for Chris or myself, feel free to drop them in the comments and we will get back to you as soon as we get a chance. We'll see you guys later.